Okay, it's time to leave the Harvard Business School bubble and explore Seaport, specifically the Snowport market. And while we do that, I want to chat about an interesting type of job that prospective MBA applicants aren't typically aware of. Today, I want to break down the pros and cons of these jobs, which companies are hiring for these roles, pay expectations, and how to know if it's the right fit, all based on my very limited understanding. So we know that MBAs typically go for banking, consulting, investing, AI stuff, startups, etc. But have you heard of LDP and Chief of Staff roles? LDP stands for Leadership Development Program, and many large companies, like the ones on the Forbes 100, hire MBA students from top universities into these programs. Some of these programs are rotational and others are not. But the purpose of these programs is to develop the next executives in the company. These programs usually boast good work life balance compared to consulting and banking, good networking and visibility, and a fast track to senior leadership, which means more pay. Chief of staff roles are a lot more ambiguous. There are a few people in my section who had this role before HBS, but how I understand it is that you do projects for a super high up leader, stuff that's important but they don't have time for, and according to Perplexity, here's a better definition. Chief of staff roles are senior strategic partners that sit close to a CEO or other executive and make that leader and their organization more effective. They blend strategy, project management, and communication rather than doing primarily administrative work. So it seems like you get pay, networking opportunities, and visibility, which can accelerate your climb up the ladder. I also assume hours are very dependent on who you're staffed to and the industry of the company. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to refer to both of these types of roles as LDPs. So some programs require you to be an intern in order to get a full-time offer, and some programs are rotational. Some programs are more structured versus organic, and some programs pay more than others. From my little research, they typically pay 10 to 20% less than a consulting firm would pay for a fresh MBA grad. But if you consider you may be working 50% fewer hours, then you got yourself a pretty great hourly pay deal. So, who are these companies typically looking for? All the apps ask for attendance at a top business school, which I find pretty ambiguous, like what is considered a top business school. They also ask for slightly more years of experience, like in the 4 to 5 year range, which is more compared to consulting or banking investing, which are like you just network enough and pass the grueling interview process and you're good. These companies that hire for LDP programs are looking for a cultural fit, and they scrutinize this more than any other jobs. I feel like consulting and banking, they're looking for a cultural fit, but they're also more looking for endurance and stamina. These companies that hire for LDP programs are looking for someone who will stay for the long haul and those who have ambitions to someday lead the business. So basically, if you want to lead in a corporate environment, these LDP roles are the ones to go for. Companies like to come to HBS to recruit for these roles because the case study classroom is perfect for teaching students to do LDP roles. In class every day, we learn how to manage teams and action plan. Our cases span many industries, and we see some concepts from one industry can cross pollinate into other industries, creating best practices not just for operations, but also methods of thinking and execution. Since participation is weighed so much in our classes, engagement in class is very high, and every class is basically a mini board meeting. This creates leaders who are well rounded, articulate, knowledgeable, and well connected. Now that we've talked about what it is, what types of companies are hiring for it, and the prospective candidate profile, let's chat for a little bit of why it might be a good fit. Something one of my mentors told me before I came to HBS was to look into LDP programs. Her perspective was, why be a consultant when in 6 years you'll end up doing exactly what you're doing now? LDPs can accelerate your career into senior leadership. I think LDPs are good for people who know what industry they want to work in or otherwise don't care and know that they want to lead large businesses and manage large budgets inside of large corporations. The chance to make an impact is both huge and also small at the same time. It might be small and niche in the context of the company, but even a small change in an influential company can have huge ripple effects across the entire industry or the world. Many CEOs are the product of LDP programs, and it's the perfect mix of getting external expertise with the grooming and training internal to a company. When it comes to work life balance, I think LDPs are a great option. They offer a breadth of experience in a company that you may only get a small sliver of in consulting, and the ownership of outcomes makes leaders who not only understand the inner workings of the company, but are also very well rounded. Large corporations are also oftentimes better in terms of job stability, compensation, and benefits compared to smaller companies and startups where you may get the chance to wear all these hats, but they don't provide as many perks. Additionally, on the personal side, children and family benefit from the stability and flexibility as well. So, what are the cons? I wouldn't necessarily say that these are cons. It just depends on if this type of role is the right fit for anyone's given situation. The pay isn't as lucrative, but the stress is also manageable. You do have to choose an industry, likely energy or CPG, which stands for consumer packaged goods, and likely you'll be trading on many different functions. I'm not sure if this next point is truly a con or just my limited understanding, but I don't know how hard or easy it would be to change industries once you've gotten all the functional training in one industry. Overall, I think it's a great opportunity and worth exploring. These are just my 2 cents, and I wanted to share about a career path that I had never heard of or even considered before coming to HBS. It's not as flashy as investment banking or consulting, but sometimes for some people, too much flash or drama is unsustainable in the long run. If you thought this was interesting or helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to let me know that you enjoy this type of content. Until next time, bye guys!